What's up, guys? Ash here, and welcome to the pet spotlight for the Mutant Negoori tameable beast whom I named Dahaka. Dahaka is an incredibly high damage output pet that functions like a tower turret, except that it cannot miss, incorporates lots of movement abilities, and can force trigger traps for Giselle, and even counterattack at range. There's quite a few notable specialties about Dahaka, but probably the most important is that he is a Water ESP user and is the first pet that I've really considered to be incredibly powerful from our limited selection of Water ESP users. So right here, we're going to have him tongue attack, and this is going to be his primary ability, Schwartz. And the tongue is going to force Schwartz to move, triggering the frost trap, immediately freezing Schwartz. You can see it brought him to him, and now he's frozen. Now, also interesting is that pincer attack with Beast on Hunter is going to allow multiple hits from Giselle, and you're going to see Schwartz go from 10,000 down to 6,000, down to 4,000, down to 2,000, and it's just it's almost like having a multi-hit attack. To take Schwartz down from 10,000 to about 300, it's just totally unheard of. And so Blood's going to come in. He's going to jump attack, and remember that this attack is unavoidable. He's going to become frozen because he did trigger the frost trap here. Right before he gets in, of course, he's going to forestallment, taking off a quarter of Blood's health. He's going to block, and now that Blood is frozen, he's going to be left wide open, essentially. This Ranger is going to fire support to back up Blood, but of course, Dahaka is a Water ESP user, and their defense is focused around dodging. So he's going to dodge and then counterattack, killing the Ranger instantly. Just absolutely crazy. Now that Blood is in a settled position, look at his, he's at 4,200. Remember, both Schwartz and Blood were at full health when this started. And he's essentially going to do the exact same thing that he did to Schwartz, bringing him down into single hit range. There are no Water ESP troubleshooters at the moment, and although we believe we'll be getting one with Misty, this is very much uncharted territory for many players. Again, you can see Water ESP dodge rating through the roof. Counterattack, of course, look at that long tongue coming out, bam, and just totally messing these guys up. They can't hit them, with the exception of the jump attack from Blood that was unavoidable. And you can see him just tearing into everything. Of course, in order to tame Mutant Negoori, you can find him in the 47 Violent case. I do recommend that you use power control. I've already done a video on kind of taming and how to kind of speed up taming. This is one of the ways where it's instantaneous. Power control is just amazing. But I'll leave a link to that down in the description. I think one of the greatest abilities that Dahaka has is that he is able to work in a team environment so well. As long as there's traps are set up and, it's just going to trigger so many combo abilities here. So we're going to hit with BB, push enhanced camo away, and of course trigger this trap that's already sitting on Blood. Blood is going to die instantly over here. And then this low health of being on enhanced camo, he's actually going to get forestallment for being pushed into Dahaka, killing him instantly. One of the specialties that Water ESP users have is an ability called Blood Red Vortex, and that guarantees their hit. It's absolutely crazy and perfectly viable on Destrons here. We have enhanced or regular Schwartz here at about 5,000. Elisa hits him, and of course BB follows up on it, but he's just outside of range. And keep in mind, Schwartz also has overdrive and berserk, so he can survive at 1 health. But fire support goes off with Giselle, which of course then triggers pincer attack with Beast from Dahaka. This is going to pull him, he's going to pull him right next to him, which of course means he's also going to trigger forestallment. And so you can see the overdrive and the berserk here. So this hit right there does 2000, puts him into 1 health, overdrive, berserk, and then the forestallment kills him because it's all in the same sequence. Absolutely crazy. While you could use Dahaka on Sniper because he's not a legendary pet, you will find far more synergy on Hunter, as the pincer attack with Beast is really just absolutely insane. Again, with the teamwork environment, we're having Giselle lay down traps right now, right? And since Dahaka's already out, you can actually use this turn to attack. Now, Hunter, unless you build it a specific way, doesn't generally deal too much damage, but pincer attack with Beast will, 119 blocked by Blood isn't going to do anything, but the pincer attack from Dehaka is going to deal massive amounts of damage, force him into a frost trap. It's going to trigger BB to, hit from behind. He's going to keep attacking, like it's just wild to see this kind of stuff. So we're actually going to have BB come down and just finish off Blood here, which is so awesome, the super dunk. And then if you remember, I put a fire trap down at the very beginning next to White. And fire trap's going to go off. And this is where it gets really interesting. So right where he triggered the fire trap is exactly the distance at where he can be attacked at. Which of course is within Dahaka's range here. So you're going to see White try and make a run for it. But the reality is, this is where he got hit. So Dahaka's actually going to pull him back to where he was in the beginning. And so he's going to start just attacking and attacking. And remember, if the Destrons decide to automatic reattack and automatic counterattack, he's going to get that back in full as well. Just absolutely insane. And, he just quite literally took down Red and White. In back-to-back turns, essentially. So obviously, Dahaka's main form of attack is his tongue, but also important to note that he will deal line damage with his tongue attack. Think like Flash Beam from Scion. So this Bicron's going to come and, of course, attack Dahaka right here. But notice that Blood is in front. So when the counterattack goes off, he's hitting Blood as well as hitting the Bicron at the exact same time. He can forestallment, he can counterattack to kill, at range. This guy right here gets in the line damage of Schwartz. It's really crazy to see how much damage this guy can put out. I can't stress that enough. On top of his line damage, Dahaka is also a Negoori, and a Negoori specialty is a mastery set called Gray Sniper that gives massive hit and crit chance on responsive encounter. Right here, you can see that this frog came up and attacked him. These are all off turn. He's going to counterattack, but then when counterattacking, he's going to forestall him because he pulled him into his own range. Like, what in the hell? And so, obviously, Gray Sniper is a natural fit to be combined with Overpower, allowing Dahaka to have what feels like unlimited forestallment when combined with Overpower. You won't really ever see anything in melee range unless he's died. Of course, with a responsive counterattack specialization, we are going to feed into him unpredictable as well. And this is going to essentially murder block. Dodge rating, it is also going to shred 25% dodge, but you don't really care for that because he has a 100% guaranteed hit rate due to Blood Red Vortex. It's pretty nuts, and to see the level of forestallment and replaced forestallment, generally when you have, a creature that can live a hit, like right here, then your overpower is then gone, due to the spider having impulse fields. But, since he's got Gray Sniper, he's just going to keep forestalling over and over, and it never ever quite feels like he can run out. Aside from all those abilities, Dahaka can also give area acceleration. This is pretty awesome to have for a team boost as a whole. You can see everyone triggering acceleration that's within his range, and it's pretty awesome. And if you want to pull him out just at the very start to give everyone a boost, you can use him for that reason as well. And then finally, Dahaka has a very special ability called Dancing Tongue. This is unlike any other ability in the entire game. He is essentially able to pull allies closer to him when necessary. Obviously, this is particularly good for scenarios like this where Kylie got out of position due to a spider drop or something like that, and you want to get her back into cover. You can use it defensively, right, to basically get her into protected cover and not have that exposed state damage going on. So obviously, there's lots of use defensively for Dancing Tongue. Putting people back into place where they should be, or even dragging them to where you want them to be, right? But there's also the offensive use behind it, and that this is particularly interesting. So Elisa is on Barbarian, which I have kind of spec'd specifically for Anger Strike, and the way that she's designed, anytime she moves or gets hit, she's going to trigger, Wildcat Engine and Anger Strike and all that stuff. But it doesn't mean just from enemies dealing damage to her. Anytime she moves includes Dancing Tongue. So we're actually going to pull her. She's going to collide with Blood, but it's going to trigger her Anger Strike. This, of course, is going to trigger the Frost Trap that I had used before, which will then, of course, trigger Pincer Attack with Beast. Which then pulls him into another fire trap, which triggers even more. And keep in mind, Blood was at full health from here. BB is going to go ahead and assist, but ultimately, Dahaka is just going to finish it up, and just absolutely crazy. Alright guys, let's do a quick abilities overview with obviously his basic ability being by far the most important. This is what you really want to pay attention to, and there's so much that goes into this. So Deadly Mist Whip. You can see its attack range is 6, and so he can use it for counterattacking, responses, for all the above. Notice his ratios, 75 to attack and 75 to ESP, along with 100% from range or rage. And of course, that means that you can give him muscle training, you can give him willpower. It doesn't really matter. It all feeds into the same damage ratio, right? After that, check it out that the target will be pulled, which obviously is awesome because he can trigger traps forcibly on units if it isn't their turn. And then on top of that, he's going to increase AT by 40. You guys remember seeing these attacks on Schwartz where he hit him like 4 times in a row. 4 times in a row is a 160 AT increase. So whatever Schwartz was at, let's just say 30 or so, he'll be close to 200 if he's still alive. He essentially won't be getting up again. On top of that, you will activate poison on damaged targets with a 50% chance. You can increase that being a Water ESP user, although we're not going to feed into that. He is going to get damage bonus per tile, kind of like with BB's Twister Arrow. And of course, he's going to get a flat 50% damage increase for a target in exposed state. Absolutely wild. For general abilities, I recommend the Negoori High Jump, or Higher Jump, the Song of Haste, and of course the Dancing Tongue because it's just so amazing. The ability I do not recommend is Acid Ball, and here's why. Notice the attack range for Acid Ball is just 6. Notice that, that's the same as Deadly Mist Whip. Notice that the ratio, there is no physical attack power, just ESP power, and it's at 50% rage. Essentially, Deadly Mist Whip is better in almost every single form and way. The only reason why you would remotely want to use this would be to trigger Acidic Poison, which will increase damage taken and prevent some health recovery by 50%. But notice that the trigger for Acidic Poison will be a 25% chance, and then the cloud to trigger Acidic Poison on the tile will be a 10% chance. So as a whole, I would much rather just have all of these functions from the Mist Whip rather than him accidentally trigger this for whatever reason. You guys just got to see how insane Dancing Tongue can become, and this has so many applications. You know, it's limited only by your ingenuity. You can do pretty amazing things with this, and I'll leave that to the imagination. 3-turn cooldown, not too bad, and does have the exact same range as his actual tongue attacks, a 6, which is quite large. So just absolutely nuts. Song of Haste, you know, what's cool about this is that this is not a max SP ability, so he can use this, you know, going in from Awaken without having to lose that 100% hit chance from Blood Red Vortex. So obviously this is very good, you know, if you want to start out with your team, accelerating everyone for 3 turns, just, you know, super awesome. And then the only other slot besides Acid Ball is Negoori Higher Jump. I have found some use with this, and keep in mind the modifiers for this are interesting. The health increase, and you know, this can have interesting effects on things you wouldn't think. You know, I've seen him hit, because he couldn't tongue through a wall, I've seen him jump and almost, you know, kind of sideswipe a spider with this. Like, it's just crazy, and you'd be surprised how this works out. And then finally, for SP ability, this is really user preference, personal preference. You know, Sleeping Song, absolutely nuts. Triggering Sleep can force ambush damage, which is a 100% damage bonus. So you can, you know, put whatever amount of humans you want asleep if necessary. Personally, I prefer to just keep him, you know, tonguing all the time. But maybe you might be in a situation where you're like completely surrounded and just want to make sure that everything works out. And then he also has Acid Rain. Acid Rain is not bad. You can see the 100% ESP power, 100% Water SP, and 100% Rage. It is going to force a acidic cloud on the targeted area, which is pretty cool, and it does have a damage range of 3, so it's not bad, but generally I don't use either of these. Alright guys, we have the stats, personal masteries, and equipment. So for his personal masteries, I do of course recommend Inrush. This should be essentially on every beast, but is particularly good for him. I also recommend adaptive training. You'll see that on the mastery board, and the reason why is just to expand your property limits so you can fully flesh out your slots. And then the third slot is honestly pretty optional. You know, Hidden Wildness is good, and that's what I currently have, but even though Hidden Wildness is very, very good, he's not getting any bonus from having increased hit chance, right? Because he has Blood Red Vortex. He could have 2% hit chance and still guarantee the hit no matter what. So third slot, leave it up to you, but I chose Hidden Wildness. Also as an alternative personal mastery, Pathfinder is not bad, and that'll kind of flip AT for Giselle quickly, which is pretty cool. Class mastery, ultimately, this isn't an amazing mastery, but can certainly find good use depending on where you are in the storyline, and endgame maps such as 47 Violent, which is almost entirely sewer/water based, right? But generally, you won't see too much use out of this. And then, of course, Dahaka is a water user. And so you can get incredible dodge rating out of this, especially if you funnel into this. I know there's quite a few players that have kind of made a kind of like a Yasha build where, you know, it's their water and they're you know, specifically designed to have like 100-200% dodge rating, right? Absolutely awesome, and he does take use of this, and this is his kind of primary defenses, you know, with the exception of unavoidable attacks like the Destrons have. You generally shouldn't be getting hit by any clowns and such. Mine is currently running 200 Water SP, which for my version of Water, it's 0.2% dodge per 1, which is what, 20% dodge per 100, 40% dodge for 200. Essentially pushing his regular dodge from 40 to about 80.7, which is obviously nothing to scoff at, especially with the clowns who have terrible hit rating to begin with. Also, you know, being water user, you know, I'm going to give him access to Call of Water, and this is for the Destrons as well. You'll be able to use drainage to essentially turn off your water portion of Deadly Mist Whip, effectively allowing critical hits on you know, some of the end game Destrons, which is pretty cool. His stats, not bad. 3,000 health. I am running Final Resistance. There's certainly room for optimization on the board I'm going to give you guys, which is pretty cool. But yeah, at 1,000, he'll start triggering, you know, guaranteed block no matter what. Notice his offensive stat priorities. Very interesting. 1,000 attack power and 1,557 ESP power. That's quite a high number. And remember, this is all feeding into Deadly Mist Whip, right? So that's not bad. But you know, important to mention, like I said before, if you do end up sticking on Acid Rain, he does have high ESP power. You know, it's just not getting multiplied like you would see on a Black Mage or something. But you know, 1550 is not bad. Hit chance again doesn't matter. You could have 2% or 2,000%. He's going to hit no matter what, which is pretty cool. I pushed his crit chance up to 50, and that's so that on his own turn, you know, if the target's exposed and they don't have keen sense, then you'll essentially get 100% crit chance. But keep in mind that this number obviously is not accurate because you have abilities like through the Gray Eyes and Gray Sniper that are giving massive bonuses to hit and crit chance. So, you know, on the responsive counterattack portion of it, which is what he's primarily based off of, this number is much, much higher. Critical damage, not bad at 228. Reasonable armor, reasonable resistance, not great block. You know, you don't want to rely on this. This does help from Hidden Wildness and a little bit from Final Resistance. And then again, the dodge chance. And then finally, the gear item. This is a no-brainer to me. I would not consider any other item other than... if you were playing on, let's say, like a lower difficulty, consider Draki Perfect Scale for defenses. This will help with exposed state. This will help with responsives. This will help with anybody that, you know, gets through like a Destrom that crits. It'll reduce the crit damage, right? But generally, weight is absolutely stunning, and it's going to be what kind of pushes him into, you know, the much higher difficulties in the game. Alright guys, and we finally have the mastery board. This is the adaptation build. The name Dahaka actually comes from a StarCraft 2 reference of a character that you get that kind of evolves and adapts to the combat that's going around him. So just pretty cool, and I thought it was appropriate for the Mutant Negoori. Anyway, as always, feel free to pause, you know, take a look, take a gander, see what you would keep, see what you would throw out. For core offensive masteries, we're going to be taking Unpredictable. This is obvious reasons, you know, for stallment and counterattack. Dodge Shred by 25 and block by 50. You don't really need the Dodge Shred. You will always hit no matter what thanks to Blood Red Vortex. But the 50% block Shred is really good. And, you know, obviously towards the end game here, this is what you're going to mostly be fighting. And then, of course, we're going to be taking Gray Sniper as well. This is going to give you Gray Eyes, which is going to give you massive amounts of hit and crit chance on top of, you know, Gray Sniper. But more importantly, it's going to increase the limit of forestallment activation by 1. And going from 1 to 2 just has this weird interaction with the game where you would even normally run out of forestallment, you know, twice by overpower because, you know, a mob lived it or impulse fields. It just seems to stick around no matter what you do. It's really odd. And then, of course, counterattack is going to have increased counter damage. Just all the stuff that makes for incredible damage on Dehaka. Alright, and for core defensive masteries, we'll be taking Final Resistance. Final Resistance is a very cheap mastery set, you know, and obviously we're maxed out in points and we're also maxed out in slots here, so I think it just turned out well the way that it did. But anytime you have a dodge character like Mutant Negoori or Ray or Litan Superstar, you do want kind of a secondary layer of defenses when it gets, you know, whenever they inevitably get through, or unavoidable attacks and all that and such. So, you know, obviously under 33% is going to kick in tons of damage reduction, along with, you know, Final Resistance giving guaranteed mandatory block under 33%. And we're going to team this with Second Heart. And this is pretty cool because Second Heart allows for instantaneous turn should you die, which is really cool. And it's also really cool because of that 25% hip that it recovers you at, puts you immediately into Final Resistance state. So, you know, if they can hit you through dodge, they will have to deal with the block from Second Heart. Along with having another turn right away can allow for another tongue attack and honestly, not many things are going to live very long while Dahaka's hitting them. And then finally, for core support masteries, we're of course going to be taking Blood Red Vortex. Attacking an enemy while you are under overcharged state always hits, no matter what. No auto dodge mobility, no Darkness Hunter, no nothing. They will always hit, and this can be amazing where, you know, abilities that you wouldn't think would normally connect do. This is also particularly why he's good against the Destrons. Even if you're not freezing them in place, he is going to hit, and there's going to be no question of dodge rating. You know, it's really just going to be a question of block or not. But Blood Red Vortex also incorporates some pretty incredible water masteries as a whole. Still water is particularly good if you funnel like a full water build, but I don't think that's really necessary. You would just be shredding additional block, essentially. Flowing Blood is actually not bad and particularly good on him, and especially the way that Final Resistance is designed. Obviously, he does not need hit chance, but the crit chance increasing can lead to kind of, you know, Black Mage crit chance levels where he's always guaranteeing a crit whenever he's down into Final Resistance range, so that's pretty dope. Vortex also decreases the amount of dodge chance, but doesn't really matter because Blood Red Vortex just guarantees the hit no matter what. And then Heavy Rain, you know, multiplies the effect of Water SP by 2 and increases your maximum SP. So, you know, instead of a dodge rating of 0.1 per 1 water, it'll be 0.2, giving him that, you know, bonus, at least with mine, 40% additional dodge. Pretty awesome. Of course, we'll be taking Awaken in tandem with this. You know, this is only effective when you're in overcharge, and Awaken gives you instant overcharge. And like any good, you know, sort of pet nuke, you know, being able to inrush, Awaken, and have a guaranteed overcharge hit, you know, with this kind of specialization in forestallments and counters, just makes him so devastating. And then, of course, we're going to be taking Wild Negoori. This is obviously a Negoori specialty, and it's going to just boost his stats along with Hidden Wildness, you know, giving those Beast and Class Masteries and feeding them into block and dodge, hit, and crit. And this is just kind of taking that a step further and giving additional stats that you could really use. And let's go over some alternative masteries. For me, you know, Overpower is really good, no doubt, but I think if you're going to make him into a Destron killer, I would actually take out Final Blow and Alacrity, and I normally have him running Breakthrough along with a little bit more damage from Willpower. Remember, it doesn't matter whether it's physical power or ESP power. He just gets that bonus damage so much on his whip attack, and you know they both feed in at 75%. So this is awesome. The reason why we throw on Breakthrough is that Unpredictable will take, you know, let's say a Destron has 110, 120% block. It will take off 50, which is a massive amount, right? But you know, you can take that 50 and then bring it down to 25 or 30 or what have you to really get solid crits and regular hits throughout combat with Destrons. And then, of course, Legend Hunter is particularly nice for, you know, end game. So this includes all of the Destrons. This also includes, think like Fu, Boris, Ben Schneider, you know, all of those all feed into Legend Hunter. So this is really good. But, you know, let's just say you're still going through some of the storyline or you're farming out 46 violent. Human Hunter is obviously very good and a good substitute for Legend Hunter as well. And then important to note, how you build Giselle is obviously very important as well. And I would not normally recommend this set, but you could actually set up with massively increased amounts of pincer attacks with This Is My Turn. Normally, I would shy away from this on, like, let's say 54 Violent, where auto dodge mobility is rampant, right? But this increase on fire support activation is just going to have Dahaka pincer attack that many more times, and it's very odd to have this on because I don't think I've ever put this on, you know, maybe on Ranger for Hei Zing, but never on Giselle. You know, because of auto dodge mobility, really. So, you know, things kind of change when you have a guaranteed hit chance, and I definitely think that this adds a lot of value to Giselle. Just make sure that you understand there's going to be a high AT increase from doing multiple fire supports. All right, guys, and we have the adaptation showcase. This is really awesome, and I wanted to kind of just let you guys see the entire sequence here. So we're soloing with Giselle on 50 violence, and we're starting off with a fire trap and getting her that hunter's excitement that she needs for crit chance, essentially. And then we're going to run her all the way over to where the Destrons are. My Giselle is spec'd for speed, and she recovers AT incredibly fast. So now that we're in a corner, we're going to go ahead and just start lining up everything. We're going to freeze up Blood. We're also going to freeze up Schwartz to make sure that they just can't do anything no matter what the hell happens. And then, of course, we're going to bring out the hero of the hour, Dahaka. So, you know, in this particular situation where it's literally Giselle and Dehaka versus all of them, we're going to start with Blood. I don't know why, but Blood just rubs me the wrong way. So we're going to go ahead and start pulling him and force him into the freeze. You can see he takes the crits there, and now Dahaka's just going to start going in on him and, you know, lowering him all the way down to essentially 700. White's going to get up, and you can see that, you know, that Water SP on top of, notice that the mist is up too, the ice mist, so that's counting as kind of smoke screen on top of his already ridiculous dodge rating. This is another reason why Giselle and Dahaka just work so well together. So, Blood actually wakes up with auto restoration and decides to move and attack, and that triggers forestallment and forestallment again. So he doesn't even get to go, and that's because of Gray Sniper, really. So Schwartz then goes, triggers Frost Trap as soon as he runs, and he's clearly trying to do a jump attack, and that would have been his jump attack onto Dahaka, but instead, now he's frozen, and because he got frozen and walked over, he's still going to get pincered over. So now, you know, these remaining guys, you know, some of them are still confused from the fire. Bicron comes in, you know, obviously dodged the entire thing, counterattacks for the majority of its health. Imagine if they had access to Machine Hunter. These would be one-shot kills. You know, I would rather have Machine Hunter than Legend Hunter, but I'll definitely take this. So we're back up with Giselle again. I'm going to go ahead and drop a fire trap on this big pack over here. It's always a pain to deal with rangers. Can't stand rangers. And we have no other traps up at the moment, so we're actually going to switch to sniping mode. And I'm going to hit Schwartz, one, to just take a little bit more damage on him, but also to increase his action time. You know, a lot of times with Destrons, it's about controlling the action time board. Now that he's gotten some AT, Giselle gets up again, and now we start pincering to get some kills. The Ranger gets up, triggers, kills each other, forces Giselle to get Hunter's instinct and excitement all over again. And here's White again in the background, trying to take pop shots, but Water SP giving him that massive, massive dodge rating. So thankfully, the traps have now recovered. So but we're starting to get low on vigor, right? So I'm at 10 out of 140 now. We're gonna fire off this final ice trap to protect herself, and then we're actually gonna do vigor restore. I actually feel pretty comfortable with Dahaka guarding and essentially tanking at this point. So the fire trap goes off, leaves this guy at low health, and this is exactly what Hunter's Instinct was built to do. This is Hunter's class mastery, continuously keeping up excitement every single time. You'll see over there, along with ambushes and such. The frost trap actually triggers from the butcher coming over. And, you know, Dahaka just continues just slamming and hitting whatever the hell that, you know, Giselle leaves alive. Interesting to note, this butcher here, which was from the beginning fire trap, is confused. Comes over, criticals with final blow on Schwartz, puts Schwartz into overdrive and berserk. Very interesting, and Schwartz decides to return the favor by shooting him, killing him, and killing Schwartz himself since he's in Berserk now. So, you know, the one-turn Berserk change really ruins Destrons, which is pretty cool. Again, White still in the background trying to shoot from max range under cover of mist, under massive, you know, 80% dodge rate or something higher. So, you know, The Bicrons, of course, coming back in again, but getting counterattacked to death. And you could see all of his abilities just kind of merging here. You know, he's tanking, he's damage dealing, he's working with Giselle, he's freezing with traps. You know, he takes a good hit there from the Butcher, but now that's it, and the only unit left is Vice. So we're actually going to reload, throw out a freeze trap, and then I think we're going to bring over Dahaka into a much better spot. So we're going to pull him. And you're actually going to see some of Dahaka's defenses here too, which is pretty neat. So he's going to come back and immediately activate mucus skin, which is going to clear his infection and severe bleeding. And this is, of course, a Negoori specialty that we didn't really have a chance to go over. But he's still an overcharge after being resummoned. And, of course, we're going to pull him. White is going to trigger into the Frost Trap, of course. Immediately sending him to about half health. Giselle's going to get a couple shots in there, and he's just going to finish it off. And literally, you know, that's Dahaka clearing the entire 3 Destron team with just Giselle, but, you know, essentially by himself. And this is something you won't see all of the pets be able to do. You know, it might take a little bit more time for some of the crabs, and they might do it, but, you know, to see him just tear through these guys like this, unbelievable.